Hi there, it's Gillian Hill of Jill Hill Edits. I just wanted to come on today to talk a little bit about what happens in a brand voice session, because I know that not everybody knows exactly what goes on in one of those. How do you know if it's helpful for you if you don't really know what it involves? So I did one the other week with a new business, and I thought it was a really perfect example. So there are a couple of ladies who work in this business right now. They provide education and training in a certain field, and they have been working together for quite some time. They've got a good, comfortable way of working. They've added somebody new to the mix, and he's going to be involved in providing the education, providing the training, talking to people about what they do. And they're all feeling a little uncomfortable right now about where their boundaries sit. How do they the ladies who currently run the business don't feel like they can just continue the way they are, because that's not accepting of the fact that someone new has come in who has a new dynamic. And so they want to adapt things to reflect the fact that he's been added. And he is conscious that he doesn't want them to entirely change what their business is just because he's come into it, but it doesn't necessarily feel like the way that they talk about it is a good fit for him. So they are very respectful of each other in this situation, but they're kind of dancing and tiptoeing around, and they're not quite sure how to deal with it. So first of all, I would say that that's a really common situation to be in, and it's very easy for me to help people in that situation uncover and identify their voice and the boundaries that they need. And the reason that's easy is they're very respectful of each other already. They know that changes have, the people who are in the existing business know that changes have to be made, but they're not quite sure how to go about it. So they're already receptive to the idea that we're going to adjust boundaries slightly. And the man who's coming into the business is aware that he can't just continue talking about what he does the way he always has, that he's going to have to make an adjustment for the business. So everybody is receptive to the idea adjustment needs to be made. The only thing that they have to work on is how to do that. And they're really unclear of how to do that. But that is where I can come in and make that easy for them if they're open to the concept. Now, one of the problems that we see when people are aware that their voice is not quite in the right place as a business identity, but they don't quite know how to explain it, is that the content that they produce, the things they talk about, often just turn into being really bland. And the reason is they're not comfortable. They don't know where those, I call it like the edges of the sandbox are. Where do they get to play and comfortably talk about what they do and passionately talk about what they do? Because they're scared that they're going to step on toes. They're going to be describing it the way that somebody else in the business wouldn't describe it, and therefore maybe pushing the business identity in the wrong direction by just passionately talking about what they do. So everybody starts to become a little safer in their language, and what that means is they're become a little smaller in how they describe things. That passion shows through a little less, because they're trying to, they don't just allow themselves to talk about the thing that they really want to talk about. They're constantly filtering in their head, is this going to sound okay? Does this sound like the way that the business wants to sound? And there's that constant filtering going on. But they don't really know where those boundaries are. So the filtering's happening and it causes them to come out and not be comfortable where the edges and where the boundaries are. So I worked with these people recently. It was an hour-long meeting in total. I didn't know very much about their business before we got started, and I didn't know anything about it before that day. So I asked them a few clarifying questions, and then by the end of the call, we had a really pretty comfortable idea of what their voice was going to sound like. I'm sure that there is more work for them to do, but they were impressed with how much we got through in that hour. And already I could hear them being more comfortable because they knew where those boundaries were. Sometimes when I have these sessions, it feels a little bit like being a therapist, or maybe like being a business coach in some ways, because I have to ask them a whole load of big picture, 30,000 foot view questions. How do they feel about their business? What is their business really doing? How did they do that thing for their business? Okay, you do it that way, person number one. How does person number two do it? How does person number three do it? And by talking about that and really getting them to reflect on how they work, why they do what they do, what's their passion for this, what's their mission, why do they bother getting up out of bed in the morning to do this thing and not something else that they could be paid the same amount for? If you won the lottery and you got an equivalent amount of money, would you still go and do this job? And if so, why? Like all those kind of big picture why questions lead them to explain why they do things the way they do. What's their world view that they reflect on that allows them then to talk about their business in a certain way and how they work. And so what we noticed as we did that was certain common threads that reflected for all three of them. And some of them were obvious for the first two, but we were able to look at what extra things happened there. And then we could say, that's where this new person who was being added in, here's the thread that ties all three of you together. And then we were comfortably able to set some boundaries for the three of them. I often describe it like a Venn diagram. If each of them is a circle and they overlap, we need to describe what happens in the middle there. And that's our heavy focus for their business identity. And so we came out of it having a much better understanding of a lot of things they were probably doing anyway, or wanted to do, but were a little unsure about. And by talking together with everybody in the room, we could say, okay, are you funny in this situation? Yes, they quite often use humor to break up what they are talking about, but they would never laugh at their audience. And they're in an industry where things can get very complex and people can make mistakes. There's a lot going on there. So it would be easy to kind of laugh at a mistake somebody made, but they're very careful about not doing that. What is the common villain that they have with their audience, and who is that, or what part of the industry or what corporations can you identify, or what culture can you identify as the kind of villain that you're all against? And once we started to do that, the focus, it really came into focus what it was that they wanted to do, and we were off to the races. And I was so excited to hear them all talking together and agreeing and nodding my head, yes, that's how I feel, that's how I feel too. And the more each of them said it, the more the others reflected it, and we got closer and closer to just some simple phrases that really helped identify what their voice was as they speak for their company. And then I think the thing that's really important about this that I love is that they will now all be able to go out and confidently talk in their own personal voice, but knowing that they are speaking for the audience. There's for their business, there's an umbrella over them, and they all are under the umbrella. They're just in slightly different parts of it. So they don't need to parrot out an identical phrase or tagline that their partners do. They can say it in their own voice. They can use their own words and phrases that they feel passionate about, but they're comfortable knowing that it matches what everybody else in their business says. And if you were to go and talk to one of them and then another one, even though they would describe what they do in slightly different ways, it would feel like they were talking about the same approach. And I would understand that they were meaning the same thing, that they matched together in what they were doing. And I actually think that's much more powerful than just parroting out the same phrase, because I understand that I can hear the authenticity that it comes from them. It's a passionate thing that they believe in, but it's reflecting a larger theme above them that their business as a whole represents. So I hope that helps give a little bit of an understanding of how brand voice can really help you, give you space and room to be passionate and to use your own language, knowing that you're sticking to the messaging that you've agreed with. It represents your business, and everyone can then go off and do that in their own unique way. Thanks very much for listening.